We had a few good months there. Don't know what you got till it's gone. Hello and welcome to FTTR. I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about WWE's Raw after Mania and Vince McMahon being back in creative. Now, before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. Apologise if I sound a bit croaky. I am under the weather at the moment, but it never stops this. It never stops the wrestling news. So, yeah, after Sunday night's edition of WrestleMania and Cody Rhodes failing to capture the Universal Championship, I think a lot of us were like, that was a weird decision. I want to see how they follow up on that. And they did, with arguably one of the worst Raw after Manias in history. Just incredibly disappointing. Now, full disclosure, I've watched the playlist of the YouTube clips. I haven't watched the full show, and from what I hear, it's not worth checking out in the slightest. But the big takeaway, I think, is that it was a Vince McMahon show. This wasn't Triple H in the slightest. And I know people are going to say, oh, of course it's Triple H. Triple H says he's still in charge of creative. You know, it's out there that Triple H is still head of creative. It's not. Because we've seen, like, what, nearly a year, well, like, what, 9 months or so of Triple H booked Raws, and they are not inconsistent, hot messes like that one was last night, with stuff that didn't make sense, just really odd character stuff, nothing got furthered, and it's just sad. It's just really sad that we as fans are essentially being strong-armed, or we are bearing witness to a maniacal maniac doing power plays and trying to take over a company, and we're having to bear the brunt of that. I don't think that's how entertainment works, to be honest. Like, say what you will about executives and stuff like that in, like, the industries and stuff like that, there's never been a more public, like, dispute that we as fans have had to pay for, because we are essentially paying for this. We're having to endure bad creative because of someone's ego, which is just bad, and it's going to make people switch off. I think that's the, like, worst Raw ever was trending, or worst Raw, something like that was trending on Twitter. And I don't think Vince cares. I don't think he cares about the quality. Either that, or he genuinely thinks what he's doing is good and what Triple H was doing was bad. So there's that bit there. And I know he said in the interview that he's not going to be involved in creative. Or he said, I will be at a higher level, but I won't be in the weeds, as he's backstage at the show calling shots in gorilla position. So we already know there that the man is full of S, to say the least. And what does this mean for Triple H? I think everything is just so up in the air right now. Triple H came out on Raw and gave that big "we're not changing" WWE speech. But like it's been pointed out, Stephanie did the same thing and then she was gone. So it's really like, we're on a precipice here. Which way are we going to turn? Is it going to go fully back to Vince, or is Vince going to actually let Triple H run the creative? Because that's all we as fans care about. A lot of wrestling fans don't care about the behind the scenes stuff. We just want to watch a good wrestling show, enjoy the characters, enjoy the storylines, and that's what's important to us. But we are being force-fed this garbage by a man who is determined that he knows best, and it's just mental, absolutely mental, that we're having to endure that. So the story that really got to me is that the internal rundown of the show, of last night's Raw, was changed 3 or 4 times during the show, cutting 2 big women's triple threat matches in replace of Omos versus Elias, which just why? Why? I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense. There's no cohesion, and I think it's damaging. It's damaging, especially following WrestleMania, where you have that big peak in viewership because it's the biggest night of wrestling in the calendar year. So you're going to have more people tuning in potentially, and you give them this mess, shambolic, bad show with a heel turn at the end that I don't think anyone wanted. It was a good beatdown angle, sure, but did anyone want Brock to turn heel? I want Brock versus Cody, but this isn't the way that I'd do it. There's a lot better ways you can get to Brock versus Cody than just a random heel turn. So that's sort of my thoughts on the Raw after Mania, and where do we go from here? I think this is putting a very damp, dark shadow over the rest of WWE programming. Like the big fear for me, right? So I'm going to a WWE live event in April, the end of April. Will I see the stars that I want to see? So when I, bought the ticket, it was just as Triple H had taken over. And guys like Karrion Kross, Johnny Gargano, Ciampa was being pushed, and Cody had just got injured. But Rhea Ripley and all these people had been pushed to the moon at that time. And then Vince slowly dipped back, and I got a bit worried. But now Vince is fully back. Am I going to have to sit through Amos versus Elias on this live event, and people that Vince deems worthy rather than what I want to see or fans want to see? So that's what's got me a little bit trepidatious, is is the WWE programming just going to become the Vince show again? Which is what it was, and that's not what we liked. Like, granted, TV wasn't amazing under Triple H, but it was consistent. It was consistent, and he was trying to get new guys over, new guys that had been, maintained in NXT as a developmental. So I'm worried from that regard, and it's just a really sad way to end WrestleMania weekend. I don't think anyone thought that Raw after Mania would be this. I think we were all hoping for Jay White, maybe Matt Cardona, but instead we got slop. We got absolute dregs, and I don't know how to feel about WWE going forward. It's just, I was so into it, and I think like a lot of people, I was so into the Triple H era because it felt like they were telling cohesive stories, having banging pay-per-views, and it's just ended. It's ended on that note, because I don't think Triple H is going to be fully in charge. I really don't. I think Vince is going to sort of side shift him out of the way, and we're not going to get Triple H booked Raw for a while. And that makes me really sad. Really sad. I think we're going to get more squash matches, more promos, more scripted promos, and it's just going to revert back to the status quo, which isn't what we want. They're going backwards. So yeah, terribly sad way to end WrestleMania weekend. For anyone who's interested in the sale, I won't be covering the sale with Endeavour or anything like that, because I am no businessman. I don't know the inner workings of sales and stuff like that. I mainly focus on the creative. I think it's interesting that Endeavour have brought them, and they're going to form this super company with the UFC. That's interesting, as long as you don't get Conor McGregor beating Roman Reigns. So we'll see where that goes, but I don't have the insight to even comment on that. But I've commented on Raw after Mania, and now I want to know what you guys think. Are you as sad as me, as deflated as me? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support over WrestleMania weekend. Thank you for checking out my reviews, and have a nice day.